Let me ask you a very direct question. When you woke up this morning, pulled the heavy blankets back, and put your feet on the floor, did your body feel like a reliable old friend, or did it feel like an unpredictable burden? I don't know where you're sitting right now as you watch this. I don't know what kind of physical pain or emotional weight you might be carrying today. Maybe you're 45 years old, and you're just starting to notice that your knees ache a little bit when the weather turns damp. Maybe you're 65, sitting quietly in your living room, terrified that your most vibrant years are already in the rearview mirror and your independence is slowly slipping away. Wherever you are, and however you're feeling, I'm asking you to stay right here with me for a little while. Don't click away, because no matter how tired or defeated you feel today, I believe with all my heart that what I'm about to share with you is exactly what you need to hear to completely rewrite the final chapters of your life. Welcome to my garden. My name is Brenda, and a few short months ago, I celebrated my 102nd birthday. I'm sitting right here, speaking directly to the camera, so you can see with your own eyes that I'm real. I'm sitting in the worn, weathered wood of this slatted chair. It has supported me every single afternoon for over 4 decades. I'm right here on the uneven brick path that winds through my backyard, surrounded by the hydrangea bushes and rose bushes that I planted with my own 2 hands. There is a cup of warm tea sitting on this little rusted metal table next to me. I'm wearing this bright fuchsia dress today. I bought it exactly 30 years ago, when I was 72, to wear to my eldest granddaughter's college graduation. It still fits perfectly, and I still wear it when I want to feel vibrant and alive. I still manage my own household. I live completely alone. I cook my own meals from scratch. I wash and fold my own laundry, and I walk down the length of my long driveway to fetch the morning paper every single day without fail. My children, I have 3 of them, and bless their hearts, they're all in their late 70s now. They call me every Sunday evening and offer to come over and do the heavy lifting around the house. And every Sunday evening, I smile and tell them the exact same thing. I love you all dearly, but I'm doing just fine on my own. I wanted to speak to you today because I believe you deserve to hear some unvarnished, hard-earned truth. You aren't getting a sales pitch from a television commercial. You aren't listening to a corporate advertisement trying to sell you an expensive miracle powder. And you certainly aren't listening to a fitness influencer who is 30 years old and has never experienced a single day of real, terrifying hardship. You're hearing this from a 102-year-old woman who still gets out of bed, makes her own breakfast, and praises the heavens for another day on this earth with 2 steady legs underneath her. If you're 45 years old, or 60, or 80, or if you're the caretaker for someone who is getting up there in years, please listen closely. What I'm about to tell you fundamentally altered the entire second half of my existence, and I know in my very bones that it can do the exact same thing for yours. I should start with a moment of brutal honesty, because my life wasn't always this peaceful. When I turned 68 years old, I was utterly, completely terrified. I won't sugarcoat that reality for you. My beloved husband, Robert, had passed away just 2 years prior, and the grief had settled into my chest like a heavy stone. The house was far too quiet, but the physical decline was just as frightening. My knees had started to fail me. My lower back ached constantly with a dull, grinding pain that never seemed to quit. I noticed how I would stand at the top of my own staircase, mentally calculating if I truly needed to go downstairs at all, just to avoid the pain of climbing back up. I noticed how I would discreetly grab the heavy edge of the kitchen island just to hoist myself up out of a chair. My daily walk around this very brick garden path left me feeling like my legs were hollowed out and filled with wet cement. I sat in my favorite armchair one night, staring out the window into the dark, and I thought, Brenda, this is it. This is the slow, inevitable fading of your freedom. I want you to know that specific brand of fear is very real. If you felt it, please know that I see you. If you've laid awake in bed at 2 a.m, wondering if next year will be the year your children must quietly look into an assisted care facility, I understand you completely. It's not a sign of weakness to be afraid of losing your independence. It's an incredibly normal human reaction. It's wisdom, because that fear, if you listen to it correctly instead of running away from it, will guide you toward a better decision. For me, that guidance came from my neighbor, a man named Joseph. At the time, Joseph was 85 years old, but he was practically unstoppable. He stood up straight. He maintained a massive vegetable garden all by himself, and he walked with genuine, heavy purpose. One afternoon, I saw him hauling a heavy bag of mulch out of the trunk of his car with apparent ease. I hobbled over to his driveway, leaning heavily on my cane, and I asked him, Joseph, what on earth is your secret? I'm 68 and I can barely stand upright, and you're 85 and practically sprinting around the neighborhood. He gave me a very direct, knowing look, dusted the dirt off his hands, and said, Brenda, there's no magic secret. I just stopped treating my body like a trash can and started giving my muscles the actual tools they need to function. That conversation on his front porch lasted 3 straight hours. Over the next several months, I began implementing small changes in my own kitchen. I started with just a little, testing the waters, and then I made bigger changes. And the only reason I'm sitting in this garden today, a century and 2 years old, completely sharp and independent, is because of the unwavering habits I built starting that very day. Let me tell you exactly what Joseph told me to start eating, and more importantly, let me explain to you exactly why it actually matters for your body. The very first thing Joseph told me to buy was a bag of plain pumpkin seeds. I laughed out loud, thinking he was making a joke. I told him I wasn't a squirrel preparing for winter, but he was entirely sincere. He told me to take a small handful of raw pumpkin seeds, soak them in a little glass of water overnight to make them easier to digest, and eat them first thing in the morning. He explained that they're packed full of magnesium. Magnesium, he said, is the master mineral that the muscles in your legs and your lower back desperately need to fire properly and to relax after they've been working all day. So I tried it. I figured I had nothing to lose. I'm not a medical professional promising you a miracle cure, but I'm telling you exactly what my physical body experienced. The deep, agonizing muscle cramps that had been waking me up in the middle of the night slowly evaporated. Within 4 weeks, they were completely gone. My legs felt cooperative and responsive again. I'm 102 years old, and I still eat my soaked pumpkin seeds every single morning without fail. The second item on Joseph's list was pure tart cherry juice. I grew up in an era of drinking strong coffee from dawn until dusk, and the idea of drinking sour, puckering fruit juice didn't appeal to me in the slightest. But Joseph was relentless. He explained that pure, unsweetened tart cherry juice contains incredibly powerful natural compounds that act like a heavy fire extinguisher for joint inflammation. I started buying the pure kind. The change wasn't instantaneous, but slowly, the grinding stiffness I felt in my joints when I first swung my legs over the edge of the bed began to soften. Getting out of bed went from being a complex, painful, mechanical problem to just a simple action. When your mornings get better, your entire world gets better, your confidence returns, and you stop dreading the simple act of standing up. Next, we talked about spinach. I grew up in a time where we boiled our vegetables until they completely surrendered their flavor. But Joseph explained that leafy greens like spinach contain natural nitrates that open up your blood vessels. Better blood flow means better oxygen to the muscles, which means your legs don't give out when you're walking. He taught me to stop boiling it to death. He told me to just wilt it lightly, warm it in a pan with a drizzle of olive oil and a clove of garlic for exactly 1 minute. Over time, my daily walks became longer. I stopped feeling so breathless and deeply tired. Then came the wild-caught salmon. Joseph insisted I eat it at least 2 times a week. He explained all about the healthy fats, which are essential lubrication for creaky, aging joints and absolutely crucial for keeping the mind sharp. He told me that people completely underestimate the connection between a healthy brain and strong legs. Foggy brains lead to sloppy balance, and sloppy balance leads to terrible falls. We all know a bad fall isn't just a nuisance. It's a life-altering event. I made room for the salmon because I started treating it like a mandatory, non-negotiable expense for my physical freedom. Joseph also pushed me to eat simple lentils. He swore it was the most neglected food in the modern world. They're incredibly cheap, easy to cook, and packed with protein and iron. He told me that if we don't get enough protein, our bodies will literally break down our own muscle tissue just to fuel itself. That's exactly why so many folks in their late 80s start to look so frail. They're starving their own muscles. I started making a robust, savory lentil stew every Wednesday afternoon. Finally, he rounded out his logic with Greek yogurt, eggs, and sweet potatoes. Probiotics from the yogurt for gut health, eggs for essential protein for bone density, and sweet potatoes for steady energy. I learned to build a perfect, fast morning plate, taking about 12 minutes to put together. 2 eggs scrambled with fresh spinach, a little bowl of Greek yogurt with my soaked pumpkin seeds, and my small glass of tart cherry juice. It cost pennies, and it was the strongest foundation I could have possibly built for my body. I've eaten a version of that exact same morning routine for 34 years. I know how human nature works, and I know some of you are thinking, that sounds perfectly lovely, Brenda, but I've tried starting healthy routines a dozen times. I lose motivation after 2 weeks, I get exhausted, and I go right back to my old ways. I just don't have the discipline. I want to speak to that directly because I believe this is where all modern health advice completely fails us. Older adults are handed a pamphlet and given the what, but they're never given the deeper, emotional why. If I've learned one absolute truth in 102 years on this earth, it's this: your physical body will always follow the direction of your spirit. I didn't regain my physical strength just because I choked down some spinach and drank cherry juice. I regained my life because I made a sincere, prayerful decision to believe that my time on this earth wasn't finished. I made a conscious decision to believe that I was still a human being worth taking care of, and that the absolute least I could do was show up with a strong body for whatever time I had left. Real, sustaining faith is exactly like nurturing a garden. You can't rush a rose bush. You can't shame a seed into growing faster. You water it, you protect it from the frost, you tend it with extreme patience, and you simply trust the process. That's what patience looks like, and that's what taking care of your physical body looks like when you actually do it with sincere love. And speaking of love, I need to talk to you about honesty. You must be brutally honest with yourself about where you currently are. If you're struggling to walk up your front steps, admit it. If you're deeply, profoundly lonely, say it out loud, even if you're just speaking into an empty room. Loneliness is a quiet disease that is far more destructive than any kind of junk food. I understand that isolating fear. I was lonely and terrified, and I spent years of my life pretending I was perfectly fine when I was completely falling apart on the inside. Admitting my deep fear of aging to Joseph unlocked something vital in my spirit. The truth is heavy, but it sets you free. You absolutely can't heal a wound that you're pretending isn't there. But all the healthy food in the grocery store won't save you if you don't listen to this final piece of advice. You absolutely must find someone who needs you. I mean, you need to identify a single, literal human being in your life who relies on you for something specific. When I was 75 years old, a young widower named Thomas moved into the house next door. He was entirely lost. I noticed he wasn't eating properly, his yard was a mess, and he was losing weight fast. I didn't ask for his permission. One Tuesday evening, I baked a heavy, comforting, homemade lasagna, walked across my lawn to his front door, handed it to him and said, "Thomas, a body needs real fuel, and you're far too useful to this world to waste away." The look of unexpected gratitude on that young man's face changed me forever. I stopped waking up feeling sorry for myself. I woke up with an undeniable sense of purpose. I had to get into my kitchen because I had lasagna to bake, and Thomas needed his meal. Having a purpose isn't a cute little hobby. It's a biological imperative. Your mind stays sharper and your legs stay stronger because they still have somewhere important they're required to go. Find your Thomas. Find someone who desperately needs your extra pot of soup or your weekly phone call. Your life story has immense value that no one else possesses. You aren't too old. You're exactly the right age to be a guide. The older we get, the more all the complicated noise of the world fades away. Every single morning I wake up, swing my legs over the side of the mattress, stand with my bare feet flat on the hardwood floor, and say a sincere word of thanks. Then I go into my kitchen, make my 2 eggs with wilted spinach, pour my sour cherry juice, eat my bowl of Greek yogurt, and sit in my armchair by the window that overlooks this beautiful garden. I'm 102 years old. My legs are strong enough to carry the weight of my life. My mind is clear. You aren't a lost cause. Stop punishing your body. Speak to yourself with genuine kindness and nurture your faith. Give yourself a real, tangible reason to get out of bed tomorrow. Give yourself away in love, and you don't run empty. You fill up every single time. My name is Brenda. I live alone, and I'm doing absolutely fine. I pray that years from now, you'll be sitting in your own favorite chair, able to say the exact same thing. If my story has touched you today, please don't scroll past. Leave a comment below and tell me exactly one small change you're going to make for your health tomorrow. Just one thing. Be good to yourselves. Thank you for listening.